First of all, thank you, Javier, for inviting me. We've been on the BASAJAUN project now for 2 years, working closely with almost 20 partners from throughout Europe. We are here for a project meeting in Bilbao in the Basque Country. Maybe it's still a bit early here in Spain, but we also have to leave early on a plane, so that's why we start immediately. I will give the presentation, but I'm also leaving the presentation behind should there be further questions. I think Javier is very well informed about the project, so any question you can also ask to him. And there will also be a nice video presentation. So I think the goal is to have an interactive session, to have a discussion. We'll kick it off, but leave the projects behind in good hands, and that's the goal of this afternoon. So my name is Tom Minderhoud. I'm a senior architect at UNStudio. UNStudio is an architecture firm in the Netherlands. Let's see, yeah. We work from Amsterdam and we work globally on a range of projects. So our main work is obviously architecture, urbanism, interior design, products, and then a lot of other services. But we've also been heavily involved in research. Let's see this thing. And we always say that design is knowledge driven. So for us to come up with a form or a color, it's not enough. It's like, where do you base it on? How do you inform yourself? And how do you bring a lot of intelligence in the things you actually start to create? There's a big emphasis, of course, on sustainability. I think this has been in the discourse for so long now that it's very well established. Within sustainability there are a lot of subtopics such as circularity, health, quite a few things, and recently the topic of wood is very popular and being researched a lot and also being introduced in buildings. See. So circularity we touched upon. Here are some projects from UNStudio, a project in wood in Amsterdam, also projects that have a lot of intelligence in them in the sense of sensors and computer-driven mechanism that organize data and organize your life. And eventually also energy positive buildings. So this is an educational building we did in the Netherlands, in Delft, partially in wood and also net positive in the energy production. And again, the smartest neighborhood in Europe. So a range of projects, and today we would like to talk about BASAJAUN. It's a European funded research project with partners throughout Europe, from Spain, France, Finland, a number of other countries. And the goal was to look at the supply cycle of wood, because of the obvious benefits of wood. It's readily available in Europe, it embodies carbon. We wanted to use the kind of the supply chain of wood to include it into the building industry practice. And for that, yeah, the project is set up in a number of work packages, looking at these topics. And here you see a range of the companies involved. We, as UNStudio, are responsible for the architecture. But it's not architecture in the classical sense. It's architecture as a systems integrator, working with different experts. So those are fabricators, those are research institutes, those are yeah, a whole range of companies. And each of them brings the knowledge to the project, first in digital form, then it's produced throughout Europe again, all the way up to Hungary. It's tested, and that's how we work together up to now quite successfully. There's something strange with this thing, so I'm going back and forward a bit. But so here again the range of partners. Sorry, I was wrong. Not 30 but 29. and really looking at, we start with the raw material in the forest, so tree trunks, and then see how we can really kind of upgrade it to a product and then assemble it in the architecture. First looking at how we can optimize the resources, then from forest products into sub-products, then in systems. So a system in architecture is, for example, a window with a window frame, or a partition or a roof panel, all modularized and described in our computer model, and then put together to experimental pilot building. And the last step, and I think that's at the end of the process, is also the fact you put everything together, but how can you take it apart in a smart way so you have the least possible amount of waste. So this goes back to cradle-to-cradle principles and how you can reuse materials in a smart way. So for the pilot buildings, I think those are nice to see. We have two pilot buildings. So for the EU, it's very important that the topic is applicable over the wider European market. So we have one pilot building all the way up in the high north in Finland, and one in the south of France, in the Gironde. And both of these buildings are dealing with very different culture of building, different climate, and in a way these represent the different situations you might find in the European Union. So this is Jyväskylä. Yeah, it's a beautiful site along a lake in the middle of Finland, and you see the extensive forest there. So this is definitely a theme. Here you see the project site. It's on the location of our partner VTT. And the idea is that they have an office there, and the demo building we're making is intended to be a place where they can invite people, have meetings, possibly talk about this topic, but just a very kind of friendly and open meeting place with a nice view over the lake. We were inspired by the natural features, so the woods, arriving there, and we tried to integrate it into the site. And what you can see to the top is the road coming in, and in the red location that's our plot. And it's the first moment you see the site, you see the building, and that's where your kind of experience starts. And there's been a whole process of different back and forth, testing things, looking at the geometry. But the key thing is that we connect to the other buildings, and the meeting space in the building has a very nice large window overlooking the lake. So here you see an early iteration. So we worked closely both with the partners and with VTT to see what the functionality of the building should be. And at a very early phase, there were different manufacturers who looked at the glazing, the roof, the partitioning, and the facade. And here what you see, this is the first design model, so it's just a sketch basically. But from the sketch, as you can see, we started to add more detail. Here you see all the interior partitioning in plywood. And here you see some of the drawings that are generated in our building information model in a software called Revit. And that's where you can organize all these different building elements and kind of track them back into the supply chain. And that's quite a conventional procedure in the building industry, but it's our intent to go from the building back into the model and then eventually to the supply chain in the forest to really kind of create that link within Europe. How do you use your wood? Here you see submodels between the main model. So a very important part is, for example, the structure. So the structure is a glue lamp structure produced by our partner Mulven in Sweden. And they made the structural model, which is then, for example, coordinated with the facade model from a company called INAR from Madrid. And this was done, of course, through meetings, but also in this digital environment. So we as a team throughout Europe could work together on this project. Coming to the other building, this is the southern demo building. It's a residential project. There were already big plans for a school. We were not the architect of this project, of the school itself, but the architect was so kind to let us take the residential part, so the teachers' housing, for the BASAJAUN project. And together with the French architect, we worked on that project. This school is actually, from the inside, it's built out of concrete, and then on the outside it's clad with very nice wood. But for the BASAJAUN project, it was the goal to make the complete building in wood. So we're next. So this is the project site near Bordeaux. Again, the school, just to get a bit of a feel of the existing design. And in red, we are located next to the school. And of course, we try to kind of, together with the French architect, follow the initial design ideas so we could fit in with the overall site. Let's see. Yeah, this one works. Here you see a number of design exercises we did. So apart from working with wood, we also try to apply sustainable strategies that we call passive measures. So we looked at the geometry of the roof to provide shading, so the building requires less cooling. And we did options on placing terraces and shaping these houses. And this is how the early sketch looked like. Yeah, also the interior fully in wood. I think quite an attractive offering if you're a teacher living in this beautiful environment. Everything is fully done under architecture. It was again coordinated in the Revit model. So you see here the 3 houses set up with all the modular elements that we are also providing for the finished project. So there's a system that you can use for both projects throughout Europe. And with that system you can make very different designs. So the one is an office building and this is a housing building. You see also, looking at the submodels, that there is a similar story to how how the intelligence is in the project, but with very different results. And then together with our partners, some of the systems, so for example the windows and the partitions and the roof, were also made smarter. Here you see, based on the Finland demo, what kind of different elements you need. So you have the vision unit for the glass. It's glass with a biocomposite profile, so it's basically sawdust with a binding element that is protruded, and you create a glass panel out of it. You have a facade cladding, a roof, and interior partitions. And going all the way down to the technical details, like how is this thing assembled, what are the different layers, just to give insight in what is possible with this nice product. So here you see how the window is built up. Normally you would expect either window frames in aluminium or massive wood, but here it's done in biocomposite, which is very innovative and actually quite difficult to produce still. But it's some of the more fundamental research that we are undertaking for the EU, and hopefully we can also bring this to the market later. All the testing needed, especially on new products. I think French regulations are very strict. There are very strict procedures also that you need to go through to get approval, so you're actually allowed to build. So we did testing on fire, noise, wind, all of this properly documented. Here you see some of the nice profiles. So it looks a little bit like wood, but it's really based on this kind of composite. How it's assembled in the factory. Here you see the roof panels. So that's roughly where we stand now. The partition walls, and what I just want to touch upon still is, yeah, now we come to the topic of, can it be reused? Also a very interesting topic. Yeah, this has to do is like, how do you put things together, and can you dismantle it later? So you can imagine if you put a lot of glue and everything, It's very difficult to take it apart and use the separate pieces in a practical way. But also in the detailing there's a degree of smartness to enable that. And then as we look before supply chains from forest into a product, into an architectural building, also we could then turn it around and then going from the building back to the window frame and to see what kind of future use it could have, to see if we can make this cradle to cradle in that sense. So also testing happening on that process. So a lot of different engineering, designing, testing, a lot of fun stuff with wood. So I hope I've given a nice overview also based on our demo buildings. And we'll finish with a movie just to give you a feel of what we're doing. So let me see if I can get this started. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, provided that our colleagues of UNStudio past leave us now, if there are any questions in the audience, please don't hesitate to read now. No, decía que, dado que nos van a tener que dejar ahora los arquitectos de UNStudio, si hay alguna pregunta desde la audiencia que quieran hacer, pues ahora es un momento bueno y casi único, si no tendremos que contestar los demás que también podemos hablar. Questions, preguntas? No?
Yeah, thank you for being here, and then we're off to the airport, but enjoy the afternoon. Thanks.